Squidward. Welcome to the night shift.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday night, and welcome to a new episode of The Night Shift. My name is Loro Antonio. Isaiah Leung, the Asian Skip Bayless, will be joining me in just a little bit. We have a lot to be talking about here. I hope everybody is having a great night. So let's start off with talking about some baseball. So let's start off with talking about my reaction to the 2021 Silver Slugger Award winners as they were announced today. I thought that they were snubs in there. So let's start off with the NL winners. So at first base, Freddie Freeman. At second base, Ozzie Albies. At shortstop, Fernando Tatis Jr. And at third base, Austin Riley. And in the outfield, Juan Soto, Nick Castellanos, and Bryce Harper. And then the battery of Buster Posey and Max Fried. I thought Will Smith and Max Muncy were busts, just were snubbed from this. Sorry, I slipped and said bust, but snubbed, because I felt like that Max Muncy was a Silver Slugger for winning first baseman. Will Smith had a great year, but you know what? The writers were like, hey, let's give it to Buster Posey because he's retired already, and it's time for him to ride off into the sunset with a Silver Slugger Award winner here. Now on to the American League Silver Slugger Awards. So we got Salvador Perez at catcher, the designated hitter Shohei Ohtani from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Salvador Perez is from the Kansas City Royals. At first base is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And at second base, Marcus Semien. And at shortstop, Xander Bogaerts. And at third base, Rafael Devers. And then Aaron Judge, Cedric Mullins, and Teoscar Hernandez headline the outfield group of the AL Silver Slugger Award winners. So basically, my snubs were Will Smith and Max Muncy for the NL side. And for the AL side, I like this list. I like the winners of each, just because I think that it's a good group of players that earned this award. But I also felt like that if I had to choose a snub for this, for the American League side, Randy Arozarena. And I say that because Randy Arozarena he really emerged onto the scene as a phenomenal hitter. And I think that he's going to be the reason why I believe the Tampa Bay Rays are going to be good for quite a long time. Now, on to some nerve-wracking news. I'm a little nervous, and I totally disagree with this report, which regards to the CBA. And there was a report that CBA talks are bad as ever, and we're going to have a lockout and 2.5 months of pain. And my thoughts on this is, whoever predicted that, John Heyman was on that story. And I totally disagree with it. I'm like, it is silly to predict a lockout that will last 2.5 months. And I'm like, why would you predict that? And I know that talks are bad right now, but I know that in the next coming weeks, I expect major progress in those talks between the owners and players. Like I talked about it right now. I want to see the universal DH in the next CBA. I also think that we are going to see a little bit of a change in the playoff format, like expanded playoffs. Like we could see it expand from 10 to 14 teams. But all in all, I just disagree with John Heyman's tweet on that. When I saw that, I know that they're talking, but at the same time, they're still far apart in some issues like free agency, luxury tax, competitive balance tax. So basically, it's about the financial and economical structure of the CBA. That's where I think they're far apart right now. I know it's early. I know we're 3 weeks away from the expiration. I know that I want to get this off my chest just because I respectfully disagree with this prediction, just because I think that we still have time to get an agreement done, and I know that we will get it done. So we got Brandon Herrera in the house. So he says, "What's up, guys?" Brandon, I'm just doing the show until Isaiah's on. So welcome aboard, my friend. So, anyways, the Major League Baseball today, they have made a proposal on using fan graphs based on wins above replacement to replace arbitration. And I kind of think I kind of like that. I mean, whoever has like the highest to lowest wins above replacement, from what I read and what I gathered, I think you could get paid high, you could get paid low. I think that's a really, really good proposal that the league made. So I have this article right in front of me, and Ken Rosenthal and Evan Delrick reported that we'll have to get this ad rid of in just a minute here. So it says that players who take their salary despite to arbitration have their salary determined by an arbitration panel. In the process, the player and the team each submit a proposed salary for the upcoming season, and the panel picks one or the other. No splitting the difference between the two proposals. Each side is allowed to argue for its chosen figure, which is a sense means that the team must diminish the accomplishments of the player in question. Under the owner's latest proposal, the salary of arbitration eligible players, those with between 3 and 6 years of service time in most cases, would be determined by the algorithm. Dietrich and Rosenthal wrote, "This time, Major League Baseball is offering to pay players based on performance, specifically on calculations of wins above replacement. There are multiple variants of wins above replacement, but MLB proposed to rely on Fangraph's version of WAR, and a player's career WAR would be part of the calculation. Wait for recency, whether a player has been in the majors for 3+, 4+, or 5+ years would affect the calculation." We want to bring in RIP winner. That's the Asian Skip Bayless, Isaiah Leung, joining us right now. And then we have my buddy, my friend, Big B, Brandon Herrera, joining us as well from his car, but in the cold of Minnesota. Guys, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing well, Loro and Big B. It's glad to be on the program tonight. It was a great Veterans Day, hanging out with friends, eating some great food at a local American diner. So glad to be on, and hope everybody's having a great Veterans Day. And you guys see, I changed my name right there to RIP Winter. The reason why is because if you guys watch the famous movie Dolphin Tale, which I really love, that sadly today that dolphin passed away today because of intestinal issues. So really sad for the people in Florida, and hopefully that they're able to get over that loss.
And then Big B, how you doing?
Doing good. Just got off of work. It's fall here. I mean, it's 36 degrees right now. A little bit of snow flurries, but they're not sticking around too long. But yeah, winter's on its way. Speaking of winter, but good day to get out and chat with you guys and see what you guys got going on tonight.
All right, we were just talking about the Silver Slugger winners. I was talking about the list here, Isaiah. So, did you have any thoughts on the list of the Silver Slugger winners?
I think that all the guys that were appropriate to get it, I think they got it. And I think that there wasn't really that much controversy when it comes to the Silver Slugger Award. I thought that Ohtani definitely deserved it. Nicholas Castellanos, he also got it as well. He definitely deserved it, as he was one of the best players in all of baseball this past season. India was another guy that got it. He was another young, up-and-coming star that had a breakout season. So there wasn't really anything that I had an issue with. I think that all the guys that I thought that deserved it, they got their awards.
And then I wanted to tell you this. I mean, my snubs were Will Smith and Max Muncy for the NL side, because Max Muncy had a phenomenal season before getting hurt, and then Will Smith, and it's kind of full taste of a 162-game season. Will Smith has put up his best numbers this season.
Yeah, and I mean, you could argue Will Smith. You could argue who was that other guy that you talked about, Loro?
Max Muncy.
Max Muncy. They definitely deserved it, but there was a lot of players in baseball this year that were well deserving. So there's always going to be players that get left out, because there's always just a whole batch of great players in MLB.
And then on the American League side, one of my snubs was I would have put on this list. I didn't have any snubs here. I thought I did, but oh well. So Brandon, what stands out to you on this list of?
Run through the list again for me, because I did not see it yet.
Yeah, so for the National League Silver Slugger winners, so it's Max Fried, Buster Posey for the battery mate in the National League. And then Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Austin Riley in the infield for the National League. And then Juan Soto, Nick Castellanos, and Bryce Harper.
Okay, so that's – yeah, I mean, you could argue probably a few of them could be out there, but I'm not going to disagree with that, because, I mean, everybody put up good numbers. I mean, it's hard to explain. So who's on the American League side?
Salvador Perez from the Royals, then Shohei Ohtani, the DH from the Angels, then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. From the Blue Jays with Marcus Semien, Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers, both at shortstop and at third, and then Teoscar Hernandez, Cedric Mullins, and Aaron Judge in the outfield.
Well, for the NL side, looking at the list, you could make an argument that I know Tatis was one of the best shortstops in all of baseball, but you could also make an argument for Brandon Crawford, because this dude, I believe he batted like 300. He hit 20-plus homers, had about like 80-plus RBIs, and most importantly, he stayed healthy for the entire season, while Fernando Tatis was like in and out of the lineup and missed a lot of time. So if there's one gripe that I have with this list, I would probably say Brandon Crawford over Fernando Tatis Jr. But I know why baseball did it, because Tatis is one of the young up-and-coming stars of baseball. So if you don't give him the award, a lot of people eyebrows are going to be raised. Like, why are you not giving it to him? Because he's a big name.
Yeah, he is a big name. So, before you guys came on air, I got a lot of thoughts off my chest when it comes to this report on the CBA talks, as bad as ever. And we're going to have a lockout for 2.5 months. And I'll tell you guys this. I got this off my chest, and I did not like that. I disagree with that prediction, because I was like, when John Heyman first reported it, I was like, why would someone predict it, even though we're 3 weeks away from this expiration of the collective bargaining agreement? I'm like, there's still time for both sides to resolve these issues that I talked about earlier. And I don't want a labor stoppage. I don't want another delay to the start of a new season of baseball. We want the offseason to go on as normal now because of COVID-19, and that we had a 60-game season. But hey, I know that we're 3 weeks away of this. They have a lot to get off their chest. And I know that Rob Manfred and Tony Clark will definitely deny this report, because they know that they care about the fans, they care about the players and owners, and that they know from their perspective that they want to get a new labor deal done. And Rob Manfred, as you guys know, he has been in labor relations before. He served as the labor counsel in the 94 player strike. And I think that with his expertise in labor relations, he should excel in this area. But at the same time, he kind of ruins the game of baseball with other rules. So anyways, Isaiah, I'm going to get to you on this one. So I got my thoughts off my chest. What are your thoughts off your chest?
My thoughts on it is I'm going to stick with what I told Callan and Jonathan Mathis back, I believe, a year ago. And that was, I would not be shocked if we have a lockout just because of all the bitter negotiations that went on. I believe it was, Loro, catch me up. I think it was during March, April, and May of 2020 when it was during the pandemic and the players and the owners were going back and forth. And it was very ugly. Like normally when you have negotiations, you got to keep that stuff in-house. You don't got to put that stuff outside. What we had back in 2020 last year, it was the players and the owners, they were negotiating through the media. You had one side say this, and the next day, this side says this, and then this side says this. Like, that's not how negotiations are supposed to work. And I just don't know. There's a lot of animosity between both sides right now, and rightfully so, because the owners have done stuff, really sketchy stuff against the players for a long time now, and the players have had all of that boil up inside. I don't know. Right now, for me, I'm taking a wait and see approach because after all the bitter negotiations that went on in March, April, May, and June, I just don't know if I trust the owners and the players to be able to sit down and have a respectful, professional conversation without it getting ugly. Heck, these guys can't even agree on what to have for dinner, let alone a whole CBA. So right now, I'm just taking that wait and see approach.
Also, I wanted to tell you, get your thoughts on this, Isaiah. I think that in the new CBA, I am confident that we are going to get a new agreement by December 1st. The DH is going to come to the National League. And I also think that we're going to see some type of expanded playoffs from 10 to 14 or maybe 12 teams. Have any thoughts on that?
Big B, you want to take this first, or should I go?
Oh no, go ahead. You finish up your comments, and then I'll get in after.
All right. Cool. So, about the universal DH, I think it's going to happen because I just think that Manfred has been pushing for it for a while now. Remember how when they were trying out all that new stuff, like the runner at second base and the universal DH, they were talking about it. They were talking about it for like the last 4 or 5 years. So Manfred's been wanting to try that out for a while now. So I think it's inevitable. I think it's definitely going to happen. Plus, it opens up more jobs for older players. Like, Albert Pujols. Albert Pujols right now is 41 years of age. If they had a universal DH, he would have more opportunities than just having like very few opportunities in the American League. So I think it's great for the players. I think the owners have been pushing it. I think it's inevitable that the universal DH is definitely coming to Major League Baseball. About the expanded playoffs, I think it's also going to come as well because I think that for the players' side, I think the players, if you're the players, you got to agree to that because if you agree to the expanded playoffs, that means more teams will have opportunities to try to make a run for the playoffs. And when you get into the playoffs, and Big B and Loro, you guys know this, it's a crapshoot. Anything can happen in the postseason. I mean, we've seen so many times in the playoffs where a team you don't expect to go to the World Series all of a sudden gets hot, and then they ultimately go to the World Series. And for the players, it will force the owners to spend and not tank because there's more playoff spots open, so they'll have to go for it instead of tanking, and because they have no chance at making the playoffs and ultimately winning a World Series. So I think it's good for the players' side, and for the owner's side, I think it's good too because more playoff spots means more teams get into the playoffs, and also more revenue will be coming in from the TV contract, as well as I guess if you make the playoffs, you get like a certain cut of the check.
Yes, and then also Rob Manfred said at the All-Star break, he said that 7-inning doubleheaders and the runner on second to begin extra innings is going to be gone.
Well, that's good because I did not like the runner at second base rule. I'm an old school baseball fan. I think that for baseball, you have to earn your points. You have to earn your runs. You can't just have like a runner at second base to start the extra inning. I just think that was just BS. I'm glad that it's going back to what it was originally, and that rule is getting scrapped because first of all, I'm glad they didn't do it for the postseason because it would have been extremely BS if, let's say, the winner of the World Series was decided on one team being able to bunt a guy to third and then get them in, and then the other team drops the bunt down and it somehow, some way turns into a double play, and that's how the World Series ends. That's just not right to determine a World Series champion. So I'm glad, first of all, it was not involved into the playoffs, and I'm also glad that it's just going away completely because I just didn't like how that was played. I'm an old school baseball fan, and I like how baseball was before that second set or the runner at second base rule. As far as the 7-inning doubleheader, I would have preferred 9 innings just because, like I said, I'm an old school baseball fan, but I was not like opposed to it. I actually experienced a couple of 7-inning doubleheaders and worked a couple of them, and it actually makes life easier on the schedulers because you can get, let's say you have a delay or have a postponement, instead of having to schedule that game for either the next day, or if the next day, like, the team is playing a different team and it's all blocked off, then you have to find other ways to schedule games, and it's just too chaotic. And I think that having 7-inning doubleheaders, I actually would not be opposed to keeping it, because if that game gets delayed, well, then you can make up 2 games in one day.
And then also, Rob Manfred also said his latest pitch clock comments at the World Series, it looks like the pitch clock is going to be coming in the new CBA, because Rob Manfred wanted a pitch clock in these talks. And I think, like we talked about, universal DH, expanded playoffs, and then the rules of the runner on second and extra innings is likely going to be gone. What are your thoughts on the pitch clock, Isaiah?
You just left. Okay.
Yeah,
So for me, let's start back at the beginning there. If there is rumors that we're going to be shut down for 2.5 months, I mean, that cuts into spring training, because you're looking at now February. That's when everybody starts reporting. So, spring training is going to start probably a month later. So they got to get something worked out quick, and I hope they do before December 1st or whenever the agreement ends and the lockout begins. As far as what's going on, the pitch count or the pitch clock, I saw it at a minor league game, and honestly, I didn't think it affected the game much. So I don't mind that coming in. I mean, I could do without it, but if it comes in, it comes in. The universal DH, it's coming. So, we got to get, Isaiah said, it's going to help out the older guys, don't have to play the field now. Now they can play DH, prolong their careers. The runner on second base, yeah, that can go. Never was a fan of it. If they do keep it, I'd like to see them push it back to like maybe the 13th, 14th, 15th inning, and then let's speed up the game that way. I'd be okay with that part. The 7-inning doubleheaders, I'm not a fan of them, but I'm not against them. But MLB is going to have to count everything that happens in the doubleheaders. So if somebody throws a no-hitter, it counts as a no-hitter, not this. Well, it's not an official game. If you're going to make a game 7 innings, it's official. So that's one thing I disagreed with this past season, because we had a couple of no-hitters in 7 innings, and it's not counted. So that's one thing with that. But outside of that, they definitely need to get a bargaining agreement in place right away. The players and owners are doing it for the money. I mean, owners want more money. Players want more money. The expanded playoffs, I hope they really don't expand it too much, because it's going to be a bunch of one-and-dones. I mean, that to me is not fair. I think, if anything, do a 2 out the 3 series. So, you don't want to do a big playoff because, already the World Series ended what? November 4th? So you're looking at November. So unless they cut back on
November 2nd, it just ended.
2nd or 3rd, yeah, you're right. So, if you're going to expand the playoffs, now you're going to expand everything out till the end of November. So unless they shorten the season or they schedule doubleheaders, back in the old days, I think Sundays used to be doubleheader day, and they would schedule a lot of doubleheaders on Sundays. So they do that, then maybe we can get a bigger expanded playoffs. But I actually like the playoffs where they're at right now. I just want the first round to all be 2 of the playing games, I should say, 2 out of 3, I think.
And then also, guys, I talked about using fan graphs on WAR to replace arbitration. Isaiah, what are your takeaways on that?
I like the idea because I really think that a player should be paid by what he performs, especially the players that aren't eligible for free agency yet and aren't locked into those massive contracts. For like the players in the young players, the first 3 years of their service time, because let me bring an example. Matt Chapman had a terrible year this year, but somehow, some way, he's going to get a raise this offseason and go from being paid $8.3 million in arbitration to $12.3 million. So there's no way you're getting a $4 million raise just from batting 200, having a terrible season, and leading the A's in strikeouts. So I actually kind of like it. I think if for the young players, you should be paid what you perform on the baseball field.
Yeah, to replace salary arbitration and then get paid based on WAR for the younger players. So wanted to get that out there. And then, Brandon, before we get to the Ace topic, what's your thoughts on that?
It's tough because, I try to look at players getting paid, because they're not going to turn down, multi-million-dollar contracts, even if they didn't earn it. That would be like me going to my boss and, being offered this and be like, no, I think I'm worth more. I think they need to come up with some kind of salary structure, some kind of salary cap, every way to make the players earn more money. WAR, blowing saves, held runners, win percentage for some players, if they're in the lineup, like Byron Buxton. If he's in the lineup, the team has a 75% chance to win. Well, heck, if that's the case, then yeah, I'd sign him to a big deal because that means my team's going to win. So, it's hard. It's hard to be. Personally, I think players are getting overpaid. I think all 3 of us can agree to that to some point. But again, the players aren't going to turn down money. You're not going to turn up even if you think you had a bad season or whatever. So they need to figure out some way to make it more reasonable.
Yes, make it more reasonable there. Now let's go to Isaiah here. Here's a question for you here. So the A's put Chris Bassett, Matt Olson, Frankie Montas, Sean Manaea, and Matt Chapman on the trade block. And do I see that happening? If the new manager comes in for the A's, then I would think no. I think that, for example, I predict Mark Kotsay is going to be the next manager for the Oakland Athletics, and I think he knows this organization well, and I think that he can build a winner in Oakland. That's what I predict. Isaiah, what's your thoughts on Chris Bassett, Matt Olson, Frankie Montas, Sean Manaea, and Matt Chapman on the trade block?
Well, I've been through fire sales for twice in my life since moving to the Bay Area. I've seen the A's sell off players. You start with first it was Gio Gonzalez, Trevor Cahill, and that team back in 2010, 2011. And then, you had a nice run with that core of Cespedes, Donaldson. I believe Brandon Moss was also on that team as well. And they sold those guys out too in 2014, and then the A's did like a minor fire sale where they had Sonny Gray, Scott Kazmir, Josh Reddick, and they also sold them out, I believe, in 2016 2017. And so this will be actually my fourth time going through a fire sale. They do it, and honestly, I'm kind of used to it now since this is the cycle of being an A's fan. The A's have a bunch of young players, a great young core that they brought up in the minor leagues. They come over to the big leagues, and you're like, wow, man, these guys are playing amazing baseball. These guys are young. Can't wait to see them ball out in Oakland for the next 4 to 5 years. They make the playoffs. They fall short. Then the next year, make the playoffs again, fall short. Then the next year, you're like, oh, my God, man, we got to sign these guys to an extension because they're going to be eligible free agency in about 2 years. Well, the organization puts all their chips into the middle of the table and goes all in to try to win it, like the A's did this year by getting Starling Marte. They got Josh Harrison. They got Yan Gomes as well. They put all their chips into the middle of the table, and you're like, okay, they're going all in now. This is the year we're going to win a World Series, or we have to win a World Series because you know the inevitable fire sale is coming. And then what happens is that you see that they don't win the World Series, they fall short, and then they sell their team, and then you're rebuilding for the next 2 years, and the cycle goes on and on and on. That's the cycle of the Oakland A's. That's the cycle of what it's like to be an A's fan. It's hope, and then it's heartbreak, and then it's total depression. That's what it's like to be an A's fan here in Oakland. I predicted it when Bob Melvin left the A's. I said the A's, well, this is a sign that they're going to cut costs. They're going to go cheap. There's already a report coming out today from Ken Rosenthal that the A's are looking to slash the payroll, which was $87 million this year, to $40 million in salaries. So I think it's going to happen. It's going to be a long winter, and I just wish that, heck, can we cancel winter and can we cancel spring? Because I don't want to see all of this stuff going down. I don't want to, be in the Coliseum next season where I guarantee you there's going to be like only 900 fans or 800 fans. Heck, you might see for the first time ever, you have more employees working in the stadium than you have fans in the stands. That's how quiet and hollow it's going to be at the Coliseum next year. I am not looking forward to it, but hey, it is the life of being an A's fan.
And then my question for you, Isaiah, is do you want to see Mark Kotsay manage the Oakland A's?
No, because even though I like Kotsay, I think he's a good guy. I don't want to see the same coaching staff. I want a new voice in the dugout. I want a new coaching staff. I want a new way of doing things. I want a coaching staff that actually prefers, or rather emphasizes, small ball, like bunting, like hit and runs and all that stuff, something that Bob Melvin and his coaching staff didn't do. I think that if Mark Kotsay is the manager, it's going to be the same old with the Oakland A's. So I think I want a guy that emphasizes small ball. I want a guy that is fiery, because I think that's what the A's need. You need a guy that can fire up the troops. And Bob Melvin just wasn't that guy. He was more of a guy that was your buddy instead of a guy that, would fire you up and would confront you if you weren't doing your job. So that's why I personally want Jeff Bannister.
Jeff Bannister could be good, but I kind of predict it will be Mark Kotsay, because I think Billy Beane's going to want somebody within the family. So, Brandon, what are your thoughts on the Oakland A's putting Chris Bassett, Matt Olson, Frankie Montas, and Sean Manaea, and Matt Chapman on the trade block?
Honestly, everybody, you make a phone call to any team, if you're willing to pay their price on the trading block, there might be a handful of players that aren't, but Oakland's looking to blow it up. Like Isaiah said, I mean, he knows more firsthand, going 40 million or 80 million to 40. I mean, the Twins, we've done it here. So if they're going to blow it up and get rid of some of their stars, then they need to go young coaching, or they need to go with the total direction and bring back a Walt Weiss or Dave Stewart, a guy that's got ties to Oakland. And honestly, Isaiah, the small ball, trust me, I wish it would come back, but this analytics that Billy Beane started in the Oakland A's, it's not going to come back unless somebody can rewrite analytics and make it reasonable, or make a what's the word I'm thinking of? Making bunting, part of analytics or something like that. But we're not going to see small ball again. It's all about analytics and what this guy guy in this inning, so that's why we see so many pitching changes and stuff. But yeah, if Oakland's going to blow it up, I say they go with a former Oakland A player that has some coaching experience, or they dig down in the minor league systems of any of the teams, see if one of their managers is ready to come up and take over. Because if they're going to go young, you might as well go with a young manager instead of going with an old retread guy.
All right, absolutely. So also talking about the Dodgers. So my thoughts on the Andrew Heaney signing. And I was like, is this going to affect the Dodgers keeping Clayton Kershaw and Max Scherzer? I don't think it is. Andrew Heaney could be a starter for the Dodgers or a reliever. What are your thoughts, Isaiah, on the Dodgers getting Andrew Heaney?
My reaction to it is like, it's an okay move because Andrew Heaney struggled last year with the Yankees, and he needs to build up back his confidence. The Dodgers have had success in the past building backup pitchers, helping them go from bad all the way to being better than what they were when they were good. So I would say, I think it's an okay move. I think that it's a risk, but hey, it's like a high reward, low risk type of move. Because if it doesn't pan out, you just cut him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you had to choose between Kershaw, Jansen, Seager, and CT3, who is out of those five that I mentioned will remain in a Dodger uniform? Who would you choose, Isaiah?
Believe it or not, this might be blasphemous, but it would probably be Kershaw because he's old right now. He's getting up there in age. I think he's coming off a flexor strain or something in his elbow.
Forearm strain.
Yeah, when you get older, you're more prone to getting more injured. So Kershaw's already got that flexor strain. We don't want to see him be like Justin Verlander, where you have an elbow sprain, you rest for like a couple months, and then you come back, and the next thing you know, you pop your elbow, and you got to go Tommy John. So for me, if I'm the Dodgers, even though this would be super controversial because he's been your face of your franchise for a long, long time, I would let Kershaw walk because I don't think that he is deserving of. I wouldn't want to pay him that $20+ million because I have concerns about his age. I have concerns that as he gets up there more in age, more mileage on his arm, that elbow is going to be more vulnerable to popping anytime.
So you think Kershaw is going to stay with the Dodgers, or do you think he's going to leave or retire?
I think he should retire, honestly, because I think that flexor strain is typically the first step in the beginning of ultimately getting Tommy John surgery. Because we've seen pitchers, and I'm not saying Kershaw's going to get Tommy John, but I'm saying that there's a lot of pitchers that first get the flexor strain, they rehab, they do all that stuff for a month or a couple months to a year, and then they come back, throw a couple pitches, and the next thing you know, they pop their elbow. So I would let him walk or just see him retire.
And what about keeping Max Scherzer? Do you think he stays if the Trevor Bauer situation kind of gets out of hand, or if Bauer can play this year? Do you think that Scherzer could sign with another team if Bauer plays for the Dodgers in 2022, I mean?
I think Scherzer's going to stay because he's already 37. He wants to win another World Series, and the Dodgers right now, I think they're one of the favorites to win it. So you definitely got to give him the money, and I think he's well deserving of it because he's still a great pitcher. And if not Kershaw, but if I'm Scherzer, I would stay with the Dodgers because you have a team that's ready to win a World Series right now.
And what about Trevor Bauer? What if he comes back?
I don't know if he's going to come back. It's a very sticky situation with so much uncertainty with the criminal cases and all that stuff. So even if he comes back, I don't know if the locker room would welcome him back. So I think it's just best that both sides part ways.
Yeah, also you have to deal with Corey Seager. He might be gone. Brandon, what are your thoughts if you had to choose which Dodger who the Dodgers will keep? Would you keep Kershaw? Would you keep Jansen? Would you keep Corey Seager or Max Scherzer or Chris Taylor?
Honestly, if they can negotiate it, if they're all free agents, I'd try to negotiate all of them to stay there. Kershaw, yeah, he probably needs to retire, but what about moving him to the bullpen and maybe making him a closer like John Smoltz did for a couple of years? Kind of get healthy and bring him back. That's what I would look forward to. But anybody that takes a flyer on Kershaw, I mean, they're going to have to make sure he's 100% if they want him as a starter. To me, I would do my best to try to talk to him, and even if I was his agent, be like, hey, maybe we can put you in the bullpen, get you a closing role. You still make 15, 20 million, but you come out every third day, pitch an inning, get healthy. Like Isaiah said, he's probably another injury away from Tommy John. Bauer, on the other hand, I think he's done for a while until this criminal case gets through, so I don't think anybody's going to touch him. But outside of that, if the Dodgers are this close, then you try to sign all your guns. You try to bring them all back.
And then Corey Seager might be a Yankee. So, Isaiah, do you think he'll stay with the Dodgers, or do you think that Corey Seager will sign elsewhere?
I actually got him going to the Phillies, to be honest, because they need a shortstop. They're willing to pay big money for a shortstop. Dave Dombrowski has said already that they're willing to they're going to spend this offseason, that they're going to spend to try to get the team to the playoffs. And Dombrowski has said the position of need for the Phillies this offseason is shortstop, and they need a left-handed bat. So Seager to Philadelphia makes a lot of sense. I don't think Correa makes sense because you already got one 10-year, $300 million contract. You don't need two 10-year, $300 million contract on your books. And that's basically a poison pill if you take two $300 million contract over 10 years on your books. And Seager, I think with his injury history, I think he's young, but he has had some injury history. And I think with Corey Seager, I just think that he will demand less than Carlos Correa, and he will get like 6 years or 7 years instead of that 10-year for Carlos Correa.
Don't rule out this. Corey Seager maybe to the Angels, maybe to the Yankees, maybe to the Rangers. Just wait and see. But Phillies definitely are in play for a left-handed bat to kind of balance that right-handed heavy lineup that they have, with the exception of Harper and Didi Gregorius. So anyways, let's go on to Thursday Night Football. I was watching that game, and my thoughts is, why in the world would the Ravens lose to a 2-7 Dolphins team? But with the Dolphins winning, my thoughts is that, hey, the Dolphins are going to be back in the hunt for the playoffs. What about you, Isaiah? What's your thoughts?
My thoughts on this is that this is the NFL. Any week, any day in the NFL, anything can happen. This is what the last 2 weeks have really taught us about the National Football League, that there's no team that is safe from getting upset. You could be one of the best teams in the NFL. Like, look at the Buffalo Bills. They were one of the best teams in the NFL. They were rolling. They had one of the best offenses in the NFL, and ended up, guess what happened? They lost to the Jags, and they only scored 6 points. I'm not surprised, or I kind of am surprised about the result, because I thought the Ravens were going to win this game because the Dolphins' defense had not looked good all season long. I was shocked that Brian Flores got his defense to only give up just 10 points to a very potent Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens offense. It was very, very impressive. And I think what's even more impressive about this game is that the Tua Tagovailoa comes in place of Jacoby Brissett. He goes 8 of 13 for 158 yards, and he just absolutely gashes the Ravens defense, which is one of the most stout defense in the NFL. So that was a big surprise. I'm happy for Tua. I'm happy that he had the success that he did. I think he still has a bright future in the NFL. And if he can build on this performance, if he can get his confidence back, and if Brian Flores sticks to Tua, if he sticks to Tua, that's what he needs to do. No more going back and forth between Brissett and Tua. Make up your mind. Either take Tua as your starting quarterback or take Brissett and ride it out with him. I think the Dolphins, maybe they can make a late push. I don't know, but they're 3-7 right now. Maybe they might have dug themselves too deep of a hole. We'll see. But if they just need to find one quarterback to stick with, and just stick with him and ride.
They will stick to Tua. I think they will. But if Tua's hurt, then you have Jacoby Brissett as the backup. That's kind of my point there, Isaiah.
Well, yeah, but I just think that Brian Flores, now is the time that you just pick one quarterback and ride with him the rest of the season. Because we've seen in the NFL where you try to go this guy and then he has a bad game, and then you go put in this guy. It doesn't work. You got to pick one guy and stick it out, ride him through the ups and the downs.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that the Dolphins with a big win here, and I think Tua's going to be getting back his starting job next Sunday. So, Brandon, what are your thoughts on the Dolphins beating the Ravens?
It's kind of a typical Thursday night game. Ravens had a hard game Sunday against the Vikings, so they only had a few days to get healthy and stuff. So, I mean, that could have played a factor, not taking anything away from the Dolphins. You scored 22 points. I mean, you should win. Give up a little bit, but Tua has got to be the guy going forward. There's no doubt about that. I think Miami's biggest thing was last year they had the ups and downs with Tua, and then they had a good closer, let's say, in Fitzmagic, and they let him go. So I think they're trying to do that again with Percent, and it's not working really well. But going forward, they definitely got to go with Tua. Tua's, you drafted him high. You got to give him time. You got to protect him, keep him healthy. I think he might be a serviceable starter. I don't know if he'd be a Hall of Fame type quarterback, but Ravens probably just didn't have enough time fully healthy, and they might have only been 70% healthy, but still, 70% probably should have won, but if they would have had a full week of scouting Miami and getting them healthy, then I think maybe we see a different outcome if it was on a Sunday. But you got to play when you're playing. You got to be ready to play, and it definitely did not look like the Ravens are ready to play today. So shout out to Dolphins, and maybe they turn the corner a little bit. So.
Yeah, I think so too. So Christy Wilson says the Ravens are vulnerable, and the Dolphins showed that tonight. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, if they can get rattle, I mean, everything goes through Jackson. So if they can rattle Jackson, and they can get that defense to be on the field and for a longer time and keep the ball out of Jackson's hands, I mean, the Ravens are a totally different team. I mean, look what they did to the Vikings. Vikings gave too much time. They were able to dice them up. So, yeah, I agree with that statement. They are vulnerable, and you get to Jackson, you rattle him up. He's a different quarterback.
Absolutely. So anyways, now with that being said here, now let's talk about on the night shift. Next thing to talk about is Odell Beckham Jr. is playing for my hometown LA Rams. I tell you what, woo-wee, that is so exciting for my hometown LA Rams. But I'm a Patriots fan, as you all know. But I do follow the LA Rams because I'm from Los Angeles, and I think that the Rams hit the home run in getting Odell Beckham Jr. to Los Angeles. And I'll tell you what, folks. The Rams, they're winning the Super Bowl with that roster. Isaiah, what are your thoughts on Odell Beckham Jr. with the Los Angeles Rams?
When I saw it, I nearly punched my phone because you guys all know I'm a Niners fan, and I was like, how on earth do the Rams keep getting all this money and keep getting all these chances to sign all these star players when the 49ers literally, they have a need a wide receiver. They don't have they don't have a number one besides Deebo Samuel, who's like a hybrid between a running back and a wide receiver. You need another wide receiver to pair with Deebo Samuel, but what do? Oh, now we're good. We're going to rely on Mohamed Sanu. We're going to rely on Jalen Hurd, who hasn't taken a single snap in 3 years. We're going to rely on Jawan Jennings, who's been on the field only one game this entire season. We're going to rely on Brandon Ayuk, who I'll give him credit. He's been decent the past several weeks. We don't need Odell. We will rely on all these other guys that are unproven or are washed up. Like, I don't know what Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers are doing anymore. It seems like, they're just basically gifting the Rams the division. Maybe Kyle Shanahan is secretly on the Rams payroll or something because they just never seem to make a move whatsoever. The only guy that the Niners got was some guy named Charles Charles Omenihu, who I've literally never heard of until I researched him during when the trade went down between the Niners and the Texans. This is, I don't know, man. The Rams, it's wild what's going on in Los Angeles. And the Rams, it's truly Super Bowl or bust right now. And I think the question for this topic was, besides our reaction to Odell signing with the Rams, is are the Rams now the prohibitive Super Bowl favorite in the NFL? You got to say so, because they got all the talent. If they don't win the Super Bowl, it's going to be like the Golden State Warriors with all the talent that they had, not winning against. Well, it'll be like the Warriors not winning more championships with KD. And I know that was different circumstances and stuff like that, but it's going to be like that. It's going to be a major disappointment if they don't win a championship this season. And heads might roll if they don't win a championship this year with all the talent that they accumulated.
Yeah, they should win the Super Bowl. I think they will. I think this is going to be finally their year to win it. I think we could see the Rams play the Bills in the Super Bowl, which I think could happen. Brandon, what are your thoughts on the Rams getting Odell Beckham Jr.?
Well, if he can keep his ego in check, Rams got it. I mean, what's another team that has 3 stud wide receivers right now? I'm flanking on the second guy, but you got Kupp and you got Odell now, and then you got the third guy, and their tight end's not a bad option either. So, and they got their defense. I mean, they just added Von Miller, who doesn't have to be the guy. He just has to play about 50% of the plays. But yeah, if I was a Rams fan, I wouldn't say I'd be buying Super Bowl tickets right now, but I'd probably put them on layaway right now, if anything. So, but Isaiah, you said that the Niners should have went and got him. Odell didn't want to go to the Niners. I mean, they could have offered him as much money as possible. He said his list. He had his top 2 teams. There is kind of some people are trying to say there's a little bit of tampering between the Vikings receiver Jefferson and Odell, telling him not to go to Green Bay because he didn't want to see him and Rodgers, even though he likes Rodgers, go there and help them win. So there might be some tampering. We'll see where that goes, but yeah, I was shocked. I was kind of floored. I thought for sure he was going to Green Bay or possibly even the Patriots. I thought if he wanted to be the guy, he'd go to the Patriots, but maybe his ego's a check. Maybe his dad got to him. Maybe his agent got to him. Maybe some of his colleagues got to him and say, "Hey, let's go somewhere where you can win a title. You're going to be the third option, maybe fourth in some offenses, and ride it out." And the Rams right now are, what are they, 7-2, 8-1, something like that. So yeah, they're in the driver's seat right now in that division. So, and adding Odell, like I said, he keeps his ego in check. You're going to see the Rams in the Super Bowl.
You definitely will, that's for sure. So anyways, let's go back to our comment section. So Justin Bosman says Cam Newton is back with the Carolina Panthers. And I have a feeling like, could he be starting for the Panthers? And I'm going to say no. When Sam Darnold's back, he's the starter. And I think that Cam Newton is more of a gadget player.
I agree with that. I think he's more of a gadget player too. He just can't throw the football anymore. Like, if you can't throw in the NFL and you can only run, then there's really not that many opportunities for you, since every defense will just stack the box, put like 9-10 guys there because they know that you want to run the football and you can't throw the ball.
So did you guys see the stat not the stat, but the comment somebody posted on Facebook? I maybe ESPN did it, where the Panthers are now paying Cam's backup and Teddy Bridgewater. They're paying the backup or the replacement for Cam Newton's replacement in Sam Darnold, and now they're playing Cam to replace him. So they're paying. It's kind of cycle there a little bit. You're paying this guy to replace this guy to replace that guy, and now you brought back the guy that you're going to replace. So Cam Newton, yeah, I agree with you guys. I think he's a gadget guy. He's definitely would be a serviceable backup. Get healthy, and maybe you could have a nice run once you're fully healthy again. But yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, now with that being said, let's talk about which teams could you see being on upset alert week 10. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, it is a good question because I think that if you look at it, I think which team is going to be on upset alert. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills again because, not to be biased, I just want my Patriots to go be in first place, and I want the Jets to beat the Bills so badly so that my Pats are in first place in the AFC East. Who do you think is on upset alert, Isaiah?
So I'm looking at the games right now in week number 10, and there's actually a lot of games that you're just like, wow, I'm definitely going to tune in for that one. But I got a couple of teams that I think could be on upset alert. Number one is going to be the Arizona Cardinals because I know they came off a big win over the Niners last week without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, but now it looks like they're going to miss DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray for a second week in a row, and you're playing a Panthers defense or a Panthers team who is stout on defense, has a really good defensive line, and their corners are, not bad. They're not bad out there defending in the secondary, and the Panthers, they are hungry. They are hungry to get that sour taste out of their mouth out of the Patriots pummeling them last weekend. So I could see the Panthers actually going into Arizona and pulling off the upset if Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins doesn't play and the Cardinals have to rely on Colt McCoy. Because the thing about Colt McCoy is he gets rattled when you come after him. And I think that's why the Niners have problems, is because they couldn't stop the run, so they started gunning for James Conner, and they couldn't put any pressure on Colt McCoy. And when they did put pressure on Colt McCoy, he could not really get a lot of stuff going. So if the Cardinals don't have Kyler and D-Hop this upcoming week, I think the Cardinals could be in trouble. The other team is watch out for the Colts. They're playing the Jaguars this upcoming Sunday, and I know Big B is rolling his eyes at me. I know Adam is probably watching like, oh my gosh, not this again. But hear me out. The Colts have been very inconsistent this entire year. They play great for a couple of games, and then they look like they shouldn't even be in the NFL for a couple of games. And you don't know what you expect from this Colts team. You don't know what team you're getting every single week. If you're getting the Colts team that played really great the last couple of weeks, fine. They'll definitely beat the Jaguars and they'll blow them out. But if you get the Colts team who struggled the first couple of weeks of the season, Jacksonville has a chance because that Colts secondary is not that good. The Colts run defense is not that good. And if Jacksonville can put a couple of drives together, with how their defense has confidence now after their big win over the Bills, I could see the Jaguars pulling off the upset over the Colts.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that, Isaiah?
Because I don't know what Colts team I'm going to get. 1 week is this, and then the next week it's this. So it depends really what Colts team you get. If the good Colts team show up, fine. Jacksonville's getting blown out. But if the bad Colts team shows up, then Jacksonville has a chance to win that football game. Plus, it's a division game, and you guys know about division games. It's close, it goes down to the wire, and anything happens.
Well, since you said something about the Jaguars potentially beating the Titans, Patrick, my friend from SpongeBob, has something to say about it.
I was also going to say the Niners upsetting the Rams, and I was like, yeah, we don't want to go that crazy for tonight. We'll save that for Ace.
You don't want to go that crazy.
We'll save that for Ace tomorrow, Wild Sports Talk.
Yeah, so Big B, which team do you think is going to be on upset alert?
Oh, man. I could go easy with the homer pick and say the Vikings, but I can't really trust them. I mean, the Lions, to me, have been playing. They're what, 0-8, 0-7. I don't think they're really an 0-whatever team. I think they should have won a few games, beaten the Vikings. So I think they're a lot better than their record. I should say a lot better, but I think they are a better team than what their record indicates. So I can see them kind of lurking around and maybe making a splash this week. Definitely the Vikings could upset the Chargers. I mean, they put a good 3 quarters together, I guess, against the Ravens last week. Maybe Seattle. I mean, they're getting healthy with Russell Wilson coming back. I think who knows about Rodgers right now? I think that's a big question. But Isaiah, man, you got to get off the Jags. I know the have been inconsistent, but we don't know what kind of Jag team we're going to get. We can get the team that kicked 3 field goals, and the defense showed up against the Bills, but we can get a team that can't score. I mean, Colts could go all over them. I just don't get how you think one team is out of it like the Dolphins, but yet the Jaguars still have a chance to make the playoffs. I don't get that, and so there could be a few upsets. I mean, I don't got the schedules in front of me, but I think a lot of the teams that are going to win, I think, will win. So, and thank you, Chrissy. You are. I won't say the Jags suck because I do like some of their players, but they're kind of a dumpster fire right now.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they are. I love Trevor Lawrence. He's a generational talented quarterback.
That's the one I was just going to stay right there with James. Raiders could be on the upset alert against KC because Mahomes is kind of flustered right now. So that could be the big game to watch right there.
All right, now let's move on to the NBA. So Lakers guard Austin Reeves is out 2 weeks with a hamstring strain. How devastating of a blow is this for the Lakers? I'm going to say I think it's a big blow. I think Austin Reeves has made a name for himself in the first 3 weeks of the season, and I think that he has given them another option to be a shooter in the perimeter, great defender on the perimeter. He's kind of like that next Alex Caruso that you said, Isaiah. And from what I've seen from him, he has the potential to be a really good basketball player and a guy that could be really, really good for the Lakers in their success. And definitely, if you want to win in the NBA and want to win a championship, you have to surround this Laker team with really good shooters. They have lacked in that last year, and I think that Austin Reeves is a guy that can get it done here. Isaiah, what's your thoughts? Do you think that this is a big blow for the Lakers to lose Austin Reeves?
I don't think it's like a big, big, big devastating blow, but I still think it is a big blow because he was like one of the only Lakers players out there that actually gave you passion, gave you heart, and actually competed hard on each and every play. And he was like one of the only Lakers players out there that actually gave you maximum effort on defense and did not slack around like all the other veterans do on this Lakers ball club. So it is a big blow for the Lakers, and I'll say this. I blame myself for him getting hurt because I told Big B and Ace this last night on Sportsman, and when we were talking about, potentially our teams at the NBA trade deadline, what were they going to do? And I said, why do the Lakers need to make any move? Not only do they have 3 superstars, they got 4 superstars plus Carmelo Anthony, but we got the Rookie of the Year as well, and guess what? Less than 24 hours later, news comes down after I said I declared him the Rookie of the Year, the front runner for Rookie of the Year, and I was giving him all this hype and all this praise. He's out for 2 weeks with a hamstring injury. So you don't want me to talk about you. If you're a player, you don't want me visiting your city if you're a fan of that team, because I will jinx your team and I will jinx your player. And that's what happened with Austin Reeves. So Austin, I'm sorry about your injury. I blame myself. I should maybe just throw away my order for your jersey and stuff like that so you don't keep getting hurt because of me. But it is a devastating blow for the Lakers just because they're going to miss his defense. They're going to miss his tenacious defense. They're going to miss his passion. And plus, the kid, like you said, Loro, he was making a name for himself. And also, he was one of the Lakers' best shooters this season. And they're going to definitely miss that. So I hope he gets well. And when he does get well, and when guys like Kendrick Nunn, Tucker, and all these other veterans come back, I still think Vogel should keep him as part of the rotation.
We'll see about that. I mean, that you're going to have to give Ariza give him some minutes too, and then Reeves would definitely be a third stringer off the bench, which could happen too. I think he was supposed to start in that role. So, Big B, what are your thoughts on? Is this a big blow for the Lakers to lose Austin Reeves?
It seems like they started getting it figured out. So yeah, I would say it's maybe not a big blow, but it's a blow. Like Isaiah said, I mean, you started winning some games. You're what, 8-5 right now, 7-5. So you got that rotation going on who's in, who's out. So but now with the injuries piling up, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a big blow. Any team that starts getting on the groove. I mean, somebody had a comment in there. The Warriors are 10-1. Well, I tell you what, if a couple of those guys went down in injury, I mean, 10-1 could turn into 12-15. 12-20. Stuff like that. So, when pieces of your puzzle starts getting hurt, your team's going to look totally different. So, yeah, Isaiah's probably got the jinx, but hopefully it won't be too long. As much as I don't like the Lakers, but I want to see good basketball being played every night. I watch it, and I want to see the best players out there. So you give me the best. I care less who wins or loses, but and that's speaking for my Timberwolves. And I think they're kind of disarray right now. They started off sweet and beat the Bucks, and now they just seem like they kind of lost it for a little bit there. So, but for the Lakers, once they get their pieces back together, hopefully it doesn't mess up their rotation too bad, and people just fit right back where they were before they got hurt.
Absolutely. So, anyways, let's talk about who's the biggest surprise in the NBA in 3 weeks of the season. I'm going to go first with who I think is my biggest surprise. I would give it to a team that I think has been good out of the gate and that nobody expect them to start this good. And I'm going to pick the Washington Wizards as the biggest surprise in the first 3 weeks of the season. They're 8-3. This team is on a roll right now. And I think that if they continue to play well like that, they're definitely in the top 6 or maybe the top 7 in the Eastern Conference. But the Eastern Conference is tough right now. But I do see the Washington Wizards making the playoffs in some sort this season. I like Wes Unseld Jr. He has done a phenomenal job coaching this Wizards team. And I think that he's brought new blood. He knows this organization well. And I think that the Washington Wizards are definitely onto something here. Isaiah, who is your biggest surprise in week 3 of the NBA season?
Well, you could say the Wizards, you could say the Warriors for starting 10-1, rightfully so, but I'm not going to go with the obvious answer. I'm actually going to go with the Chicago Bulls being second place in the East. I expected them to be good, but I didn't expect them to be this good at 8-3. I thought it was going to take some time for the pieces to gel because normally when new players come together, they need some time to gel and get their chemistry. But the Bulls are off and running, man. And Lonzo Ball looks like a renewed basketball player. Levine looks like how he's always looked. And also you have, guys like Caruso stepping up, guys like, DeMar DeRozan stepping up, having a big season thus far. Nikola Vucevic, he was decent. He's not been that good for them, and still they're playing really good basketball. So I'm surprised at how good the Bulls have become. And, I said, I think on our NBA preview show that the Bulls, they might be able to challenge. Like, I didn't expect them to challenge the Bucks and the Nets for one of the top 2 seeds, and I still don't. And also, I think I lumped the Sixers into there as well with the Miami Heat. But now I'm starting to reconsider what I said. I think that I could see the Bulls actually challenging teams like the Sixers, the Heat, and also the Bucks as well as the Nets for one of the top seeds in the Eastern Conference.
They could. So, anyways, Big B, what are your who's your biggest surprise in the first 3 weeks of the NBA season?
I gotta say, I can't. I hate to agree with Isaiah because now we're probably both going to jinx this team, but yeah, I gotta go with the Bulls. I mean, I wasn't a big ball fan, but I was definitely a high on. Oh God, I can't think. Isaiah just said his name. He was a former Timberwolf. I can't think of his name now. Levine. I wish they would have. I wish the Wolves would have kept him. I think they could have built around him, but for some reason they wanted to go a different route. So I mean, growing up, I was a Bulls fan. before the Wolves got involved. So they're kind of like my 1A, 1B team with the Wolves. So, I hope they do good. I'd like to see them bring back some passion to Chicago there. Outside of that, honestly, I ain't gonna lie, guys. I thought the Wolves were gonna suck this year. So I didn't think they'd have this many wins right now, especially beating the Bucks. So to me, right away, I mean, outside the Wolves have kind of surprised me a little bit. I know it's early, but we'll see where it goes.
Absolutely. So now on to our final topic of the night is the college football segment. So the UConn Huskies football program hired ex-UCLA head coach Jim Mora Jr. as the next head coach. And my thoughts on this is that I think Jim Mora Jr. knows how to rebuild programs here. And I think that Jim Mora Jr. is going to do a phenomenal job with the UConn football team. What do you think, Isaiah?
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate J-Mac on his UConn Huskies. I think that he's a UConn fan because I heard somewhere, I think it was Sports Minute, that he was a UConn fan. So, and we gave him like crap for his coach quitting in the beginning of the season, but it was a good hire. I think Jim Mora Jr. is a good coach. I think he can really coach at the collegiate level. My thoughts on it, though, is that I'm kind of worried about if he's really going to take this job seriously or is he just in there to get the money? Because you look at Charlie Wise. Charlie Wise was a longtime college head coach, had success in the NFL as a coordinator, and guess what happened? He took the Kansas job, which was not a great job, did not give him good facilities. He took it, and he was absolutely horrible at Kansas. And they later let him go because he was just in there for the money. And he was, I think, like 4-43 there. So I don't know, man. It might just be a money grab for Jim Mora Jr. He hasn't coached in like 3-4 years. So it kind of is like, what is he? Is he really in there to build that program? Because if he is, I think he could do a good job. He might not have a lot of success like going to the playoffs or having a team in the top 25, but just get to a bowl game because UConn standards are just so low because they've been really incompetent for the last, 10, 15 years.
And what about you, Big B? What's your thoughts on that?
We won't know until he gets his full recruiting class in there. I mean, I know college kind of changed up how you can recruit and, players can change every year. But, I mean, it's going to be a process. Probably 3 years is when we get to finally judge his coaching ability. I don't think it's a money grab. But for college sports in general, I mean, you get a coach in there that people want to play for. Let's just take Jackson State, for instance. Who would not want to say they got coached by Deion Sanders? I mean, but, money talks now, I guess, and, who you can get on the phone to recruit your guy to, for you. I mean, we'll see what Jim Mora can do and see what kind of connection he has. Because, I mean, for me, if I'm a young, stud coming out of high school and, Deion's calling me or Jim Mora's calling me, I might go with Deion, But, I mean, if Alabama's calling me and, another team's calling me, but they can hook me up with, getting tutelage from Jerry Rice or somebody, I might go with that over Alabama, So we'll see where it goes. We'll see what Jim Mora can do. Like Isaiah said, he's been out of the game for a few years, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see how this goes here. So, anyways, folks. With that being said, here, let's talk about Washington head coach Jimmy Lake was suspended for one game after he was caught on camera shoving a redshirt freshman linebacker Rupert Fuai in a sideline incident during the Huskies game versus Oregon this past Saturday. So, I mean, I didn't see it. I have no further comment on this. So, Isaiah, you have more on this. What was the penalty on Coach Lake received too sufficient or too light?
Well, he got suspended one game. Honestly, I think he probably coached his last game at the University of Washington because when you have that kind of incident where you either hit a player or you shove a player, you make physical contact with a player, you're pretty much gone. So I think that the suspension is just they're just like it's just for them to have something in place just to do an investigation, and then they're probably going to fire him either next week or the week after. So I think he's gone. I don't think he's going to coach another game for the University of Washington. Even if he does, you think the players are going to respect him? I don't think they will. I think he lost the locker room with that. And I mean, I watched the video. What happened was one of the Washington players, Oregon was like talking a lot of trash in that game, and he got that player that he shoved. He got into it with one of the Oregon players, and he got a flag handed to him by the ref because of that. And Jimmy Lake, the head coach of Washington, just comes up and just shoves the guy in the back as he's walking back towards the Washington sideline. It's been a bad year for Washington. Everybody's frustrated, but you can't do that, man. You can't be shoving players or you can't be hitting players or stuff like that. So I think that with how society is right now, I think he's gone. I don't see him coaching another football game.
Probably not. You might be right about that. What about you, Big B? What is your takeaways on this?
Like Isaiah just closed right there. The way society is right now, I'm surprised it wasn't more. I didn't see the push, but if it came from behind, okay, that might have been a little outrageous. But if he's on the sideline, the coach is upset. We see plenty of coaches back in the day, maybe not so much now, get in the face of player, grab him by the shoulder pads, push him around. We saw it in the movie. Granted, it was a movie. Remember the Titans, where Denzel grabbed the running back and he's pounding his head with the football and saying, "How many feet in the yard?" And stuff like that. So we've seen aggressive coaches. And Isaiah, to your point, if I was a player now, I don't know. You're probably right. The locker room, he probably lost the locker room. But if you go back 10, 15 years and this happened, he didn't lose the locker room. He probably gained respect for the locker room that, they want to play for him. He wants to win. He doesn't want stupid mistakes. Because I've had coaches like that too that got in the face of players, football or whatever sport I played and got in the face and, in the locker room. More or less in the locker room, not on the field, but unless it was football. But, the coach got mad and called you out and might have thrown the clipboard or jug of water on the ground. And that either hyped us up or, yeah, we kind of lost the respect for him. But in my experience, back in the day when the coach got upset and fired up like that, it gained respect. So, but I'm with you, Isaiah. I think he's probably coached his last game for the year at least. Maybe they don't let him go, but who knows what'll happen. But one game suspension, and yeah, with society nowadays, I'm surprised it wasn't more. But maybe the one game was just a hit or miss, because I think somebody commented, James might have, that the AD loves their coach, likes him and stuff. So they might not go full force with the firing unless the school board, parents, and all those start calling for his head. But again, another situation where probably shouldn't have happened, but coach gets upset, loses his temper a little bit. We've all seen it happen.
We sure have, absolutely. So it has been a great show, guys, and it's time now for some final thoughts. It has been a great show. My final thoughts is I want to thank Christy Wilson and Justin Bosman for tuning into our program tonight. It has been a great show, but also my final thoughts is that, dear Rob Manfred and Tony Clark, we are 3 weeks away from the collective bargaining agreement being expired. I expect a new labor deal to happen before December 1st. And Christy Wilson, she said, great show, guys. Isaiah, what's your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is it was a great show. Happy Veterans Day to everybody. Thank you so much for checking our program out tonight. And, it was a great time to talk a lot of sports, a lot of football, basketball, and baseball. Like you, Loro, I really hope that they get a collective bargaining agreement, a new one ironed out as soon as possible, because I really want to work next season. And yeah, it was a great show, and looking forward to Wild Sports Talk tomorrow.
I won't be there tomorrow, but I'll be back on the Extra Point on Sunday. And Isaiah, you'll be on there for the full program on Sunday.
Yes, finally. First time in a while, man.
And what about you, Big B?
My final thoughts are, I think this weekend for football, we're going to be seeing a lot of, especially in that Jacksonville game, a lot of chants or posts, I should say, through our chats here. Isaiah loses again because I think the Jags are going to go down. But I'm with you, Loro and Isaiah. I hope baseball gets their act together, gets this agreement signed, sealed, and delivered before we have short sports stoppage. Because baseball is my sport. I love baseball. Nothing better than sitting, kicking back, watching the game at home or live, or even going out and playing it with my boy and stuff. So I really hope baseball figures it out.
I think they will. They have plenty of time to do it. But I just didn't like the report that said that it would be a 2.5 month stoppage, and I don't.
Well, exactly. I mean,
I didn't like that. I disagree with that report and that prediction.
Yeah, and if it happens, I mean, you're putting it right around when spring training starts, so that's going to push that off. So hopefully the reports are wrong. So.
All right, folks. So that being said, Isaiah left, and he also said that there's a big storm in the Bay Area, so he wanted to say thank you as well. So for Big B, Isaiah, our producer, Stephen Wang, Loro signing off for now. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll talk to you again on the night shift next Thursday, and then we'll see you again Sunday for the Extra Point.